Namaskar, a warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Gaurav Sharma bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. The headlines. India provides $250 million financial assistance to Maldives to mitigate economic impact of COVID-19. Former Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif calls Imran Khan inefficient, asks the army to stay away from politics. Iran dismisses US efforts to restore UN sanctions on the country. US President Donald Trump announces a proposed deal on TikTok involving Oracle and Walmart. And in sports, Rafael Nadal crashes out of Italian Open tennis as Simona Halep and Novak Djokovic reach the respective singles finals. India has provided financial assistance of $250 million as budgetary support to the Maldives government to mitigate the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. A handover ceremony was held today at the Maldivian Ministry of Foreign Affairs to mark the occasion. Speaking on the occasion in Hindi, the Maldives Foreign Minister said, India has proved to be a great friend during this difficult time of the pandemic.
आज पूरी दुनिया एक ऐसी चुनौती के साथ जूझ रही है जैसी आज तक नहीं हुई, एक ऐसी महामारी जिसने हमें अपनी सीमाओं और अपने घरों को बंद करने को मजबूर किया है, लेकिन हमारे मित्रों ने हमेशा की तरह ये साबित कर दिया कि ये महामारी उन्हें अपने दिल के दरवाजे बंद करने पे मजबूर नहीं कर पाई और भारत ऐसे मुश्किल समय में भी हमारा एक महान मित्र रहा है.
India has provided financial assistance of $250 million as budgetary support to the Maldives government. The $250 million budgetary support was a response to the request made by the Maldives President Ibrahim Mohammed Soli to the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He had sought financial assistance to overcome the difficult economic situation in the Maldives. More from our correspondent.
A budgetary support of $250 million has been extended without conditions. The Maldivian government is at liberty to use the money in repairing the domestic economic situation in line with its own priorities. The financial assistance is being routed through State Bank of India Male so that it does not reflect in the external borrowings of the Maldives. The soft loan has a comfortable tenure of 10 years and a very low interest rate. Since the principal payment is due only at the end of 10 years, it will not put any immediate debt servicing liability other than biannual interest payment. Maldives is the only country to which India has provided such assistance. This is Suparna Sekia for News Desk for AIR World News.
Pakistan's deposed Premier Nawaz Sharif on Sunday criticized the country's army. He said the opposition was not against Prime Minister Imran Khan, but against those who brought an inefficient man to power. The three-time former Premier was addressing the all-parties conference in Islamabad hosted by the Pakistan People's Party PPP via a video link. He launched a scathing attack on the ruling party for its failure to address the basic problems of the people. Mr. Sharif also asked the Pakistani army to stay away from politics and follow the constitution. He further stated that Pakistan has been constantly deprived of a democratic system and the public betrayed. Iran today dismissed the efforts of the US to restore all UN sanctions on the country, stating that it is not complying with the nuclear deal. The Iranian Foreign Ministry described Washington's actions as ones making the US appear as the biggest threat to peace and international security. On Saturday, the US moved to reinstate a range of UN sanctions against Iran. It said that it had the authority to do so as an original signatory of the 2015 nuclear deal between Iran and the other countries. The US left the deal in 2018. The other signatories claimed that the US no longer has a legal right to either declare Iran in breach of the agreement or to reimpose sanctions in the name of the UN. According to the reports, the White House plans to issue an executive order on Monday spelling out how the US will enforce the restored sanctions. US State and Treasury departments are also expected to outline how foreign individuals and businesses will be penalized for violations. Openly challenging the monarchy of the Thai king Maha Vajiralongkorn, thousands of protesters marched in Bangkok on Sunday. Their demands include a call for reforms to curb his powers. The anti-government protesters installed a plaque near the Grand Palace in Bangkok. It is said to be an expression of people's will that the country belongs to them and is not a property of the monarch. Over the last 2 months, demonstrations have been building up against Thailand's palace and military-dominated establishment. The protests over the weekend were some of the largest in years, with thousands defying authorities to demand change. This is All India Radio giving you the world news. The US President Donald Trump has announced a proposed deal on TikTok involving two American companies, Oracle and Walmart. Trump administration had earlier threatened to ban the Chinese video sharing application unless its US business was bought by an American company. This deal would allow the US operations of the Chinese app, which was placed on a banned list due to security concerns.
TikTok is moving along. We're dealing with Oracle, which you know of, a combination with Walmart, a great American company. The security will be 100%. They'll be using separate clouds and a lot of very, very powerful security. And they'll be making about a $5 billion contribution toward education. It's a great deal for America. They'll be hiring at least 25,000 people. It will have nothing to do with any outside land, any outside country. It will have nothing to do with China. It'll be totally secure.
Meanwhile, in another development, a US judge blocked the Trump administration from requiring Apple Inc. and Google to remove WeChat for downloads by late Sunday. Anonymous hackers on Sunday leaked personal data of 1,000 Belarusian police officers in retaliation for a crackdown on street demonstrations against President Alexander Lukashenko. Security forces have detained thousands of people to tackle a wave of protests and strikes since then. Earlier, the UN Deputy Rights Chief Nada al-Nashif told the Human Rights Council that Belarus government should end violent crackdowns and increasing repression against protesters.
Despite violent crackdowns by the Belarusian security forces and thousands of arrests, peaceful mass demonstrations have continued to contest the declared result of last month's presidential elections. They also call for an end to police violence and the resolution of broader human rights issues. I also urge the authorities to facilitate independent, transparent, prompt, effective, thorough and impartial investigations into the allegations of serious violations, with a view to ensuring accountability and access to an effective remedy for victims.
Now, let's have a look at the global COVID-19 figures. The number of coronavirus infected cases has crossed 30.62 million worldwide. Meanwhile, with over 1.2 million tests, India has conducted the highest ever single-day COVID tests across the country in the last 24 hours. The total number of recoveries has crossed 4.3 million. In other developments, while Australia reported the fewest COVID-19 cases in 3 months, Russia has registered over 6,000 new cases in the past 24 hours. In the UK, the government has announced fines of up to £10,000 for repeat breaches of the stipulated 14-day self-isolation period to control the spread of the virus. On the vaccine front, Latin American nations have expressed their intentions to join WHO's COVAX vaccine facility. Russia has restored international flights with Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and South Korea. Citizens and permanent residents of the 4 countries can now enter Russia following the easing of the coronavirus-related measures. In turn, Russian citizens will also be permitted to fly to these countries. Moving on to sports, in tennis, 9-time champion Rafael Nadal crashed out of the Italian Open. On the other hand, Simona Halep and Novak Djokovic entered the respective singles finals. In Indian Premier League cricket, Delhi Capitals scored 157 for 8 wickets in the stipulated 20 overs. In its reply, Kings 11 Punjab had scored 52 for 4 wickets in 9 overs as per the latest updates. India is celebrating the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Macedonia. And with that, we end this bulletin. See you at same time tomorrow with the next edition of